Charlie Parsons Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. Always a pleasure. One of the many Yafai brothers, Galal Yafai. First things first, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. How you about yourself?
Yeah, good bro, good bro. Let's talk about the last sort of 48 hours or so, maybe longer. You were meant to be fighting next week in San Antonio. I suppose makes sense, lower divisions, there's a lot more sort of fighters away in sort of the States and Mexico, etc. The fight's been forward a week. When did that call come?
Yesterday morning. Yeah, not long ago. My trainer Rob said, "Got some news. Do you want to fight on Saturday?" I'm thinking Saturday, like we're on Tuesday now. But I had a little think about it, and I thought, you know what, it's probably better for me, and I'd probably prefer to fight in London on a big card than flying all the way to San Antonio.
How is that and everything? Because obviously, you know, you have your camp set for a certain amount of time. You have to do everything a week forward now. I know you're not someone that struggles at the weight. You make it quite comfortably anyway. But sort of what do you do when you push all that sort of fight week process a week forward?
You know what? The main thing is get my mind mentally ready. I think physically I'm ready to fight probably a week or two ago. But mentally is getting ready to, on a Tuesday thinking, okay, I'm fighting on Saturday. I've got to be ready mentally to fight, and I think that was the main problem.
Sort of moving forward, I remember your first fight out and everyone was like, oh my God, 10 rounder straight in there. I remember Eddie said shades of Lomachenko, not quite moving that quickly, but you are someone who is moving quickly. Abu Dhabi was a weird experience for yourself. I remember seeing you afterwards limping quite badly, foot just absolutely covered in blood. What do you take from that whole experience?
I don't know, what do I take from it? A bad foot, man. A win that was closer than I would have liked to have been. But it's boxing, and I couldn't have done much more. I didn't perform great. I trained really hard. I was ready physically, but I feel like my foot let me down, and I kind of had to get through it. If it was a spar, no one would ever known. I would have stopped the spar and just carried on, but it was a fight, so I couldn't just go, hold up, my foot's hurting, and could have come back and revisit this when my foot's better. I had to just get on and fight, and I was in there with someone who was quite good as well, which I think I would have dealt pretty okay if I was 100%. But then again, everyone's gonna say that, and everyone's gonna maybe use that as an excuse. But if I had to retire today, maybe I would try and push for the excuse. But I get to prove anyone wrong that don't think I'm that good now.
I was gonna say, we spoke, I think, at the presser in Abu Dhabi. And everyone loves you to start off with, and you're the next best thing, and then you go in and you have a performance that's maybe not 100% of your true self, and all of a sudden you're a fraud and this and that. I suppose maybe you would have experienced a little bit of that. Yeah. People all of a sudden going from loving you to maybe doubting you, not as much as if you were to take a loss, etc. But you would have experienced it a little bit. Fazed by it, or sort of prepared and knew that it was coming?
Yeah, you know what, it didn't bother me really, where some fighters might take it personal, some people, and that's fine, but I try and use it for me and try and get it to G me up a little bit. Like I said in the press conference, I'm used to people being up my arse and blow smoke up there and saying nice things and saying he's great and whatnot, and then people telling me I'm not that good and yeah, it was a hope job and etc. But it is what it is. I like to use it as I try to make it help me. I got that chip on my shoulder now. I want to prove people wrong. Whereas before, it's kind of like everyone's on my side.
What do you know about your opponent, and what can we expect to see come Saturday night?
What can we expect to see? It depends what he brings, really. He's experienced. He's had 40-odd fights. He's challenged for world titles a few times. Yeah, he's not been a world champion, but he's got the experience. They'll probably would have watched my last fight and thought, yeah, we can use this or use that, but that weren't me that he's going to see on Saturday.
Being on an Anthony Joshua undercard, how much of a special feeling is that? Obviously, I know San Antonio's fun and globetrotting and going all around the world is fun, but as someone in the amateur game, everyone looks up to AJ very highly. You probably have your encounters with AJ yourself. To now fight on his bill, someone who obviously revolutionised the way that British boxing's gone over the last sort of 10 years or so. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's wicked, of course. I grew up, well, when I was amateur, I'd watch my brothers and his undercard, you know, wherever he boxed at, O2 Arena actually. Cal boxing a few of his undercards, Gamal did, and now I get the chance to, and it's great because I'd watch Anthony Joshua growing up as a kid, and he went through the London cycle, and then he stayed obviously at GB, and we'd see him weekly all the time training. You know, he'd give me advice, and it's mad because he was the last the last male Olympic gold medalist before myself. So it was him in 2012, and then it was myself in
Passing of the torch.
Yeah, exactly that. So it was him winning it 2012 and then myself winning it in 2020. So it was nice to be the next one after him.
I suppose, like we sort of touched on with you, you sort of have a performance that's not your A game as such, and you're a bum and you're a hype job. We've seen a lot of that with AJ. AJ, obviously, like I say, revolutionised British boxing, done an awful lot for the sport, and took the losses to Usyk, obviously the loss to Ruiz, and now he's got a lot of haters and a lot of doubters. Just your thoughts on it all, because always been someone who's been a great servant to British boxing, and he's never really complained about anything, has he?
Nah, it's sad really, isn't it? But what can you say? It's just boxing. I think that's just the way the world is. And like I said, I was getting criticised after my last fight, and yeah, it don't bother me too much, but I can imagine it's not nice. It's not the nicest thing, and he must get it on a massive scale. So you can see sometimes he might be a bit rebellious and do these say certain things that people might not like, but he does get it, man, and it's unfair a lot of the time because he's done a lot for us. Brought brilliant nights to the UK and made boxing bigger in the UK.
Galal, top man. Thank you for speaking to us at Boxing Social. Always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you Saturday night.